Hi, this is Cindy from Vintage to New, and I'm so glad you're here today. I just decided to come in and mess around and try doing just a couple of things and just to see how it turned out. And I'm going to show you what I've done, bring you along to where I'm at, and see if you've done anything like this or how you did it, how you went about it. And let's just get started. So under here, I have some pages that I gessoed, but I didn't use regular gesso. I kind of made my own kind of gesso. So I gessoed the pages. I did the wet side down on a piece of wax paper, the wet side up piece of wax paper over, and I put it under a book to dry so that they would dry relatively flat. So let me undo all these and I'll show you how I did it. You know my opinion of books and words, because sometimes you're working on a project and you're not super paying attention to what the book page says, and then all of a sudden it ends up in your journal and you're not happy with what that particular page says. That's happened to me. So I thought this was kind of a cool idea. So what it is, this is the book that I thought was going to be okay. It's really not the best book in the whole world. Has a few colorful words here and there, stuff like that. So, I mean, I bought it for the cover. It was one of the Reader's Digest books. So I ripped the pages out. Then I got my little piece of wax paper. Now, the gesso that I made, I just mixed it while I'm here. I didn't make a giant batch of it. I tried it with the matte gel, and it worked great, but matte gel is expensive, and I had to go out and buy it. I didn't have any of this. But then I tried just plain old Mod Podge, and I have a giant container of it, and so I think I liked it better. The only thing is Mod Podge dries with a little bit of a gloss to it, where the matte gel didn't. So I don't know. I think I'll try it again with the Mod Podge and see what we think. So here's how I did it. I took a nice big blob of the Mod Podge. Alright. This is just Liquitex titanium white acrylic paint. You want acrylic paint, not oil paint, of course. And just, you know, maybe half as much of the paint as you have the Mod Podge. Alright. And then I wanted pink streaks in it. I didn't want it completely pink. So I have had this paint, I am sure, for upwards of 15 years, maybe more. And I just put one little dot up here at the top so I could just grab bits and pieces of it. And then mix the Mod Podge and the paint together. So it's kind of like that. Kind of a mess, right? And then gesso has a texture to it a lot of times. And I looked at a lot of people online, and they were using talcum powder, but I don't know if they realize talcum powder isn't talcum powder anymore. Talcum powder is nothing more than cornstarch these days. So I'm going to use baking soda. It has just a little bit of texture to it, so not very much do I want, but it will give it a sandier kind of texture, and then just mix it all in. So there's what I'm going to work with, and I want to clean my brush just a little. I don't want that much on my brush when I'm going. So here's my page out of the book. Alrighty. And you just give it a quick little brush. So here it is. getting brushed with the white, and then I just, the tiniest little dot of pink, and give it a little this way, and then go back this way. Just kind of put it all over your page. And you can see it starting to bubble up just a little bit, but I'm just going to set it aside for right now. And in a minute, we'll stack them all up in the wax paper. So now that was kind of a lot. I don't want to paint my page white. I just want to give it the little bit of just a, let me get where you can see. I don't want to paint my page white. I just want it to have the littlest bit of the writing kind of blurred out. So there's that. Let's do another one. And you could just leave it white if you wanted to, or you could make it all pink. Whatever look you're going for. I just wanted some slight streaks, and this brush is losing bristles left and right. Just using a really cheap brush. Maybe just a little bit more pink. So there's that. Just keep tossing them back here and grabbing some more. So I hope you all are staying warm wherever you are. We had a couple little snow flurries here in Oregon, which just about grinds our state to a halt. But it's gone now, so I'm happy. Still really cold. But I can't complain about my cold compared to what you guys have been going through in some parts of the United States. Okay, I think you get the idea. So let me clean this up, and then I'll be back with a project we're going to do with these. Okay, so the paint that we mixed up, the paint, the Mod Podge, the baking soda, it did 14 pages, and I have them between little sandwich wrap pages here. And I did add one more drop of pink. I ran out of pink, but that's all I added to it, and did 14 pages. So now I'm going to set those under these books out of the way so that they can dry and end up flat. So here is the pages I did earlier. You can see what they look like. All right. Then I thought, well, what am I going to make out of these? So today, when I was doing my thrift store shopping, I found this giant package of recipe cards. And I thought, well, gee, recipe cards, they're probably on a little bit of a card stock, which they are. It is cardstock. There was a very, very lot of them for $3.99. So I got them, brought them home, and then I thought, well, what can I make? This is what I made. It's a it's going to be a tuck spot in a journal. And so this is the paper that we just made. I added some lace and another little tuck spot right here. And so let me show you how I did it. I noticed my camera had moved up again, so I moved it back so that I can do better, keeping it so that you can see. So the first thing I did is I decided these cards are 8 inches tall. 8.5 inches tall. I forget. 8.5 inches tall. And I did not want the full length of the card. So I cut it down to 6.5 inches tall. So that's what I wanted. So 6.5 inches. 8.5 inches is great. but I haven't picked the book that I want to put my next journal in yet, and it might not be a full 8.5 inches tall. I'm pretty sure 6.5 will be, it'll be at least that big, maybe taller, but that wouldn't be a problem. So that's how I chose that. So then I needed to cover this so that it fits in a rose journal, because that's what I'm hoping my next project is going to be. It will be a rose journal. So we have different ways of doing this. We can do this and sew it, or we can do this and glue it. I sewed this one. I zigzagged the pages in together. I think you could understand that pretty easy. So you can see what it's like if it's sewn. So let's go ahead and do one that's glued. These pages here, you can see through. I can see just the outline of the dark recipe underneath. So I'm going to take another sheet of paper and glue it down first. So let's go ahead and do that. We can use our Fabri-Tac. You could use a glue stick. A glue stick might be quicker and easier. But what I have is this Fabri-Tac. Get it up close to the edge. We don't need a ton in the middle, so just a little. I'm going to line it up on the corner and on the bottom. Press it down. Like so. Then give it a little glue here, because I want to put another sheet on top. The center part doesn't need a lot of glue, but your edges need to be glued down pretty good. And this is the one that has our pretty gessoing on it. And I'm going to do it so that the words are a little more centered. Okay, so now I could use my cutter, or I could just use a pair of scissors. And while we can see the card, we're just going to trim it up. Like so. And I didn't keep this perfect on this side, so I'm going to trim this down. Now the thing about gluing the paper onto your cards, I've done this before, and unless you're really careful with your glue, the corners can kind of peel back. Like that one's peeled up just a little bit right there. So that's where sewing it really is nice. So just a word of warning there. So let's go ahead and glue this one more time. Because like I said, the center doesn't need very much glue at all. But those corners and outside edges really do. So let's get this on. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but you can see through that paper. I think you can see it. So it does take 2 sheets. But what a great way to use up all those pages that we all end up with. And who wants to throw them away? I mean, that just seems so really wasteful. So let me pick a good sheet that we just did. These are the ones I did before you joined me. That's a nice one. Put it down. I like that the words are just slightly blurred out, and I do like that it has just that little bit of color on there. Looks really nice. So now we can find the edge of the card still on the other side. So there's that. Just rubbing it down, making sure it's really stuck. Looks really good. Because my sewing machine is set up, even though you can tell it would be okay, I love the sewn look. So I'm going to sew it and I'll be right back. Okay, so I don't know why I didn't remember this. It's because earlier I used a glue stick when I was doing this. Glue stick works great if you're going to sew over glue stick. Sewing over Fabri-Tac is not a good idea. So don't go sewing over Fabri-Tac. It really slows your machine down, and I ended up breaking my needle and everything else. It was a disaster. So note to self, don't sew over Fabri-Tac, only sew over glue stick. And it's the washable glue sticks that you can sew over. So just so you know. Now, this is just a pet peeve of mine. When you look at the back, is that in focus? Okay, the back, when you sew on paper, you get these little pieces where the paper pokes through like that. So here's the front side. It looks completely normal, but the back has all those little dots. So take your gift card or credit card, whatever you have, and rub it down like that. And it smashes that paper that's poked up back down into the hole. And it just looks a lot better. So anyway, that's my tip for that. So back to our project. I think I'm going to work on this side. All right, so I purchased at the local thrift store a valance. I hope I'm saying that right. It's how I've always said it. A lace one. Seems like there's always one or two there somewhere. And I just cut a hunk of it off. And so I want to put it so that it hangs off the edge just a little bit. So my thoughts are, when this goes into my journal, it's going to get glued over here and it'll flip up this way, or you glue it so that this lace hangs off the edge and you open it that way. But this is not the best way to do it because it would be tight to get in and out. So this one is going to be for a right hand page, glued on the left, right over here only, and then this lace can hang off the edge. So that's my thoughts. So anyway, let's go ahead and add our lace. That's our bottom layer for this one. Just need a little bit of glue. Alrighty. I don't want it to hang off the card quite this much, so I'll give it a little trim. Okay, so there it is, hanging off. Really cute. Cute. And then let's find one of these that we have a lot of our gesso on, and kind of tear it out a little bit. Like that. Give it some antiquing. Whoa, baking soda down. All right. This one only has a little bit of pink on it, but it looks really nice. A little different. You can still tell it's a book page, but it just looks really nice. So I'm going to put that up there. And then I think I'm going to use a little bit of this page here. It's just a piece of just paper pad. Kind of like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. The rose that I'm going to use for this one is out of my cutting garden. I think that looks pretty nice. I think I need something else behind this page to set off the words just a little bit more. So hold on. Alright, so I found this strip of fabric that I've had for a while. If you recognize, it's the cover off of my fairy journal that I showed you. And I just ripped off a piece of that and stuck it in the back there. It's always nice on your very back layer to have something that grounds it, so it's usually a little bit darker, and then you kind of work your way up with the different colors as you move forward. So I haven't antiqued my rose or this paper yet, but it looks pretty nice. And then I wanted to do a pocket here on the side, a little tuck spot is what I'm thinking. And so it either needs to be cut or ripped. So I think I'm going to try ripping it in kind of a arc down like that. And then I found this in a book the other day. I was taking the pages out and going to throw them away. And it's that little poem. It says, "'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, a gift to come down where we ought to be and find ourselves in a place that's right. 'Twill be the valley of delight." So, isn't that great? So I think what I want to do is move this over a little. So not everything's just on this side. Stick this in here. Kind of balance this out. I think I'm going to put this here. I kind of like it. Hope you guys like it. You can see how these words are faded out, and there's the slightest little hint of pink up there. So let's glue this all in and see what we get. So just a tad bit of glue on the back of our fabric. And it was ripped on all directions, so there's no cut sides on it. Makes it look a little ratty, which you know I like ratty. And then this is a nice, really large piece of our quote-unquote gessoed paper that will stick here at a nice little angle, keeping it on the page. Here we go. I need to antique this piece. Look at how nice that edge ripped. I ended up with a nice big decal on the edge. Just get that nice and dark so it really stands out behind everything. Alright, that looks pretty nice. I think right about there's where we had it. And then we'll do our rose. This one's out of my cutting garden too. But you know, you can find illustrations in books if you look. Sometimes the Better Homes and Gardens books that you find in your thrift stores and stuff, they'll have a few illustrations in them. Or maybe you could find some things on the internet and print them off and cut them. Just some options. Let's see. just a word of warning, if you plan on selling your journals, you have to find copyright-free images to print and then put into your journal. My understanding is, if you buy a book and it has images in it, and you just tear them out of the book, that's okay to use, because you're not recreating their art, you're just using their art that you've already purchased. So that's my understanding. If somebody knows something different, you can let me know below, but that's how I understand it. So then this one, we're just going to glue 3 corners. And right here in the very, very corner, then we will distress our poem. Does anybody else know this little poem? It's also sung as a song. I won't do that because I'm pretty sure it would break the internet. Singing is not my strong suit. But I can hear it in my head as I am getting this ready for the book. And I got some music out, thinking that, you can sing it. It is a song. Maybe I want to put just a little music behind it. I think, like I've told you every time, I always think music should be everywhere. So let's just see what it looks like with a couple music notes behind it. I'm not sure. Let's do it that way. Keep them right side up. I don't think so. I think we'll just keep it simple. Being it's talking about being simple, we'll just put this on there. I do like being simple. I like doing things simple. I love reusing things instead of always going out and buying something new. So I do like this. Okay, so there is our tuck spot for in our journal. So it will go on our page, glued next to the spine, and it will flip up like this. You can tuck stuff under it, and then you will be able to put, let's do, then you'll also be able to put stuff in this little spot here. You could probably put a lot of things in that little spot right there. So there's our project for today, and I just want you to notice how pretty that pink is that's peeking out off of our page. So anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, this was Cindy from Vintage to New.